sometimes you have to give credit where credit is due. The Obamas, the Democratic Party, the people that subscribe to social justice, they are really good at promoting fear. They control people by controlling the narrative, and the narrative is pumped with fear. Therefore, if you're a young black or brown boy or girl in America, when you see the police behind you, even if their sirens aren't on, their lights aren't on, they're just driving behind you or next to you, you need to start having a palpitations in your chest because of the fear that these people like Michelle Obama want to instill in the next generation. And they do it with ease, and they lie with a straight face. And I call BS to Michelle Obama, because worrying about her daughters facing racism is like me worrying about the world going to end because of climate change. Most of the incidences that we see anyways pushed by the media, that is propaganda, but let me just use this example, is black men being profiled by cops, black men being killed by cops, which I'm gonna show you with some data that black men being killed by the cops, unarmed black men, about 10 to 20 get killed by the cops every year out of a nation that hosts 50 million black people. We have a whopping 10 to 20 black unarmed men getting shot and killed by the police. But guys, you just have to, it is what it is, guys. They're going to push this racism narrative all the way into the end, because without racism, they don't have a platform. Before we go any further, make sure you guys join the journey to 5,000 subs. Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified anytime I make a video, all of that good stuff. If you guys want to support the channel, you can support me on PayPal, all right, or Cash App. Thank you guys for all of the support thus far. But let's listen to Michelle Obama just continue to push this false fear-mongering narrative. Oh, you're black, therefore you need to be afraid of police.
I, like so many parents of black kids, have to, that the innocent act of getting a license puts fear in our hearts.
Yeah, guys, if fear is in your heart, because you're going to get a license, you need counseling. You need some pills, because you live in a false reality where you think you're paranoid. You have a sort of paranoia that you walk around with. You need to go see a doctor. Paranoia is not good. What she says right here is straight up propaganda paranoia.
I, like so many parents of black kids, have to, that the innocent act of getting a license puts fear in our hearts.
Michelle Obama is opening up about the reality of being a black parent and worrying for your children. In a preview of her sit-down interview with CBS This Morning's Gayle King, the former First Lady talked about the Derek Chauvin verdict. She said that while his conviction can be seen as a sigh of relief, a lot more work still needs to be done.
Yeah, the conviction that had the BLM supporter, George Floyd, get your knee off our neck, that jury 52, that trial with that juror that convicted him with that guy on it. Yeah, it's a sigh of relief that guy, who is completely a biased juror, gets to vote to lock up a man for several years. Okay, so it's a sigh of relief that our criminal justice system is infiltrated by undercover activists.
Especially considering the level of fear the black community is facing.
Many of us still live in fear as we go to the grocery store or worry about walking our dogs.
You guys, we just have to stop. We just call BS. Like if you're black or brown and you have fear walking around, walking your dog, You know what you should really be scared of is the crime happening in your neighborhood if you're in the hood. Okay, because walking your dog, you might be caught up in a drive-by, you might be caught up in a robbery, you might be caught up in a domestic dispute or something like that. The cop rolling up on you walking your dog. Come on, guys. This I've seen this with some friends where they have this false fear. And some of my pushback to this fear is, okay, if you are a Christian person or you believe in the Bible, does not the Bible say fear not? Does not the Bible say do not fear? Don't fear. And yet so many black and brown people who claim to be Christians, they love this because it's like they identify with this false fear. Oh, I have to be scared of the world because it's a cesspool of inequity. So the fear, if you're fearful, pray. If you're fearful of police brutality, go to a doctor, go to a counselor, because you are living a life of paranoia. The reason why George Floyd ended the way his life ended the way it ended is not because of some police brutality cop, white racist monster woke up and said, I'm going to take somebody's life today. No, it was a sequence of events that led George Floyd to where he finally ended. You think about the 2019 film tape of him doing the exact same thing, getting pulled over by police and then eating drugs. He's hooked on opioids. The women in his life are opioid heads. He's passing fake money. He's resisting cops. He's having a high panic attack. All of these things are unique to that situation. And if you are a black or brown person who's not doing that, then you don't have to worry. If your license and registration are up to date, if you're not speeding, 15, 20 miles over, you're okay. If you don't blow through a red stoplight, a stop sign, if you don't get caught looking down at your phone texting and then driving, if you don't drive under the influence of marijuana or alcohol or any other drug, if you just follow the rules, you'll be okay. You'll be fine. But of course, that doesn't keep people fearful. That truth makes people, feel calm. When I drive, I'm calm because I know that at the end of the day, the fundamental difference, between George Floyd, Jacob Blake, Rashard Brooks, and me is I'm not living reckless and they are. It's a shame that our politicians want to push this lie to the people they claim they care about.
Or allowing our children to get a license. I mean, just imagine.
Aren't your girls driving?
They're driving.
Michelle went on to say that she never fails to get nervous when Malia or Sasha drive off, not knowing what could happen on the road.
Every time they get in a car by themselves.
Guys, if you're a parent, I'm a parent. When my kids start driving, I'm nervous. I would be nervous too. You know how many people die every year because of auto accidents? If anything, we should be more fearful, if you're going to be, or concerned about an auto accident, not a cop stopping you and taking your life just because they had an assumption. Oh, an assumption. You're going to listen to her say assumption. Oh, you saw the back of my hair. Assumption. No, these cops aren't out here just willy-nilly pulling people over and executing them. Okay, most of the time, there is a legitimate reason to pull somebody over.
I worry about what assumption is being made by somebody who doesn't know everything about them. The fact that they are good students and polite girls, but maybe they're playing their music a little loud. Maybe.
Yeah, and remember when Ma'Khia Bryant was shot and killed, everybody on her side said, she was such a good girl. She was. I know she had a knife in her hand, but she was a great girl. She was about to stab somebody, but she was a good girl. Okay. So when it's obviously when a parent is talking about their kid, they're going to be biased, but I digress.
Somebody sees the back of their head and makes an assumption.
Michelle then reflected on the protests against racism and police brutality that have escalated over the past year and the need for people to listen.
We don't want to be out there marching. I mean, all those Black Lives Matters kids, they'd rather not have to worry about this. They're taken to the streets because they have to. They're trying to have people understand that we're real folks.
Yeah. Michelle is
just
and the
complete
need
BS.
for people to listen.
Listen to this.
We don't want to be out there marching. I mean,
yes, you do, because that's your power. You do want to be out there marching. You do want to be assembled. You don't want to accept the fact that most Black people in America don't live in poverty. Oh my goodness. You don't want to accept the fact that 80% of Black Americans that live in America are not living in poverty. You don't want to accept that poverty is cut in half from 20% to below 10%, around 7, 8, 9% when Black couples get married. Then you see a drastic decline in poverty. All right, you don't want to see the fact that 1900 Black man didn't have any real aspirations of making it in this America. 2021, you have a litter of people that are Black getting financially, they're moving their family tree forward because they are swamped with opportunities and they have a desire to be more than what their family was. So, but guys, she's lying. She's lying. We don't want to be out on the street. Yes, you do want to be out in the street. You want this.
All those Black Lives Matters kids, they'd rather not have to worry about this. They're taken to the streets.
If you don't want to worry about being pulled over by a cop, don't commit crimes. Don't get hooked on a ungodly amount of drugs. If anything, I look at all of these situations and the way my mind processes it is these are examples of how we should not act. The three names that come to mind right away: George Floyd, he is an example of what we shouldn't be. Rayshard Brooks, he is an example of what we shouldn't be. Jacob Blake, he is an example of what we shouldn't be. So if you don't want this to happen to you, then don't be like them. Oh my goodness.
Because they have to. They're trying to have people understand that we're real folks.
Yeah, we're real folks. People don't see us as real folks. They see us as just a Black person. We are just it's 1855 in America, according to Michelle Obama. Guys, it's mind-blowing because it's sad that the Democrats and other people who believe this, they will push open lies. They will push conspiracy theories. That is why on this channel, I believe that systemic racism, as talked about by Black Lives Matter, is a conspiracy theory. They are literally believing that the system, the country, conspires against them, has a devious, deep plan to hold them back. And it's a shame because, when we were talking about the election, everybody wants to say, oh, conspiracy, and then when we actually live our day-to-day lives, these people want to push an open conspiracy that has Black and brown people living in fear. All right, but the last thing I want to cover is this op-ed from the New York Post, because I read this and I thought it was a great summarization of why this narrative, the police brutality, the police are out here, killing us, slaying us, it's a conspiracy theory. So police brutality against Black people happens way less than the public thinks. So this is an op-ed from Rav Aurora. All right, this was from February 27th, 2021. All right, social movements tap into our most primitive emotions, obscuring the complexities of socio-political problems. Reason is traded for ideological fervor, and skepticism is swapped for religious dogma. And that is what these people they push. They push a religious a religious ideology of the tribalism of race. It is religious at this point. Black Lives Matter is a religious organization because they pray for the dead, they call on the dead, say her name, say his name. That is the works of a religious institution. They're trying to summon up or conjure some sort of spirits as if they are going to come and help, move their movement forward. Such was the case in 2020 in the wake of several high-profile cases of alleged police brutality involving Black victims. Across the U.S. and Western countries worldwide, activists and average citizens alike vigorously protested against a perceived but empirically refuted epidemic of racist police killings. A new survey commissioned by Skeptic Research Center reveals the extent to which the public is misinformed on the issue of police violence. Now, this misinformation, I had a really good conversation with my mom, and I said, "Mom, if you were to conclude which race of people gets killed the most by the police, what would you conclude?" And she, without thinking, said, "Oh, Black people, of course. They get killed the most." And I was like, "Well, have you seen these numbers? Have you seen that Black people actually get killed far less as a whole than white people? Have you ever been shown the fact that white people in America account for 400 to 500 deaths, estimating? I don't got the numbers right in front of me. And Black people in America getting killed by the police are under 300. Did you know that?" No, she didn't know that, because there's so much misinformation out there. There's so much misinformation out there. So picking up with the article, the results were revealing. Overall, nearly half of surveyed liberals, 44%, estimated roughly between 1,000 and 10,000 unarmed Black men were killed, whereas 20% of conservatives, guys, that's an insane number. 44% of liberals said 1,000 to 10,000 unarmed Black men were killed. Come on, bro. That is when the media is pushing propaganda if you actually are that far away from reality. The news outlets that are supposed to report the facts to us are literally just promoting a narrative. Most notably, and before I move on, 20% of conservatives estimated the same. Who are you? Like, what are you looking at? A simple search of data shows that there's 10 to 20 unarmed Black people killed, all right, a year by police. And unarmed doesn't mean that you are unarmed doesn't mean that you are not dangerous. All right. So that's that. But most notably, the majority of respondents in each political category believe that police killed unarmed Black men at an exponentially higher rate than in reality. Over 80% of liberals guessed that at least 100 unarmed Black men were killed, compared to 66% of moderates and 54% of conservatives. But according to a close database compiled by Mapping Police Violence, the actual number of Black men killed by the police in 2019 is 27. 27, guys. 27. And we're over here, Michelle Obama's over here saying, "I'm scared. My kids, they leave and I'm scared. This only happens 27 times a year. I'm scared. Police kill, a couple hundred Black men out of 50 million. I'm scared. Out of 50 million Black Americans, only a couple hundred are killed by police, and I'm fearful." It's like this article says, empirically refuted. Let me see if I could zoom in here so you guys can see this chart. That's a little too much. All right, let me see if you guys are able to see this chart. So on this side is very liberal, and then the far right is very conservative. So each category, how many unarmed Black men were killed by the police in 2019? About 10, about 100, about 1,000, about 10,000, more than 10,000. All right. So more than 10,000, very liberal. 7% said more than 10,000 people. Okay. About 10,000, 14%. All right. About 1,000, you're still very wrong. And even, even the number that, okay, at least this isn't absurd, you're still extremely wrong. About 100. No, we're about 70 short of that. So the majority of very liberal people have an incorrect view of unarmed black men being killed in America. And then you look at liberal, all right, 5.45% said more than 10,000. Uh, about 10,000, 6.6%. About 1,000, 26%. About 100, 38%. So it's still a by and large, if you take these four categories, 1, 2, 3, 4, these four categories show that the people believe something that's simply not true. The number is not even close to 100. All right. And then as you get to the moderate side, you get people that are a little bit more down to reality. All right. Because the correct answer is about 10. All right. So as you're more moderate, that number goes up. 33% people actually see that this is not really that big a deal. 46% of conservatives understand that unarmed black men being killed by the police is a very low number. And then very conservative. All right. It correlates as well. So Michelle Obama just continuing to push this false narrative. She's really just hindering the next generation to live in fear. And I, as a brown person, say, screw that. I'm not going to live in fear. I'm going to follow the law. Hey, you live in fear. I'll follow the law. God bless you. Let's move on. The second question the survey asked was, in 2019, what percentage of people killed by police were black? While the survey states that the actual percentage is around 25%, the average survey respondent guessed 50%, 58% for liberals, and 41% for conservatives. The disconnect between the perception and reality couldn't be starker. These findings hardly surprising. These findings are hardly surprising. The media has the power to shape perceptions, and when they consistently prejudge, distort, and exclusively focus on high-profile cases involving white officers and black suspects, such as Jacob Blake, most recently, it creates an illusion of pervasive police violence perpetuated toward African Americans, and this is the conspiracy theory that some people believe in. The Democratic Party is pushing. There is an illusion of pervasive police violence perpetuated towards African Americans. Hands up, don't shoot. Lie. Meanwhile, unarmed white people killed by cops is highly questionable circumstances while reaching for their license during a traffic stop, mistaken for a gun, failing to raise their hand upon police request, lying face down on the ground, or being suffocated to death by wildly excessive force are ignored by the media. So when it's a white person getting this force executed on them, the media says, we're not going to look at it because it doesn't fit the story. And we need the story to maintain the power. We need the story to maintain the ratings. Consequently, the public likely perceives this problem to be almost non-existent. Yeah, like white people don't, get killed by police. Okay. Wrapping up the article, let me get this out the way. It's no secret the mainstream press have consciously perpetuated narratives of racial oppression across their news and opinion pages, leading to racially skewed coverage of police violence and other forms of injustice. As political science doctoral candidate Zach Goldberg has shown in his research, unarmed black victims of fatal police shootings generate staggeringly 9 times as many news search results compared to white victims. Because it sells, baby. That's why all of these news outlets, they say black person, white cop. Oh, a white cop did it. That's news. That's why I really liked when the cop who was, he was trolling LeBron James saying, oh, okay, LeBron. So you're okay if one black person kills another black person, but you have a problem if a white person kills the black person, even though the white cop is saving the life of the other black person. Okay, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but hey, you're really good at basketball, so let's go with that. And here are the pictures. You got George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Tamir Rice, Laquan McDonald. All of these are tragedies, if you want to call it that. This isn't to say the tragic deaths of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Tamir Rice, Laquan McDonald, and several other Black Americans at the hands of law enforcement shouldn't catch the media's attention or be peacefully protested on the streets. It's that they must be honestly scrutinized, and police violence victims of all skin colors must be reported on to accurately inform the public. Meanwhile, voices of power continue to exploit these tragedies for social currency and political gain. That is why Kamala Harris and Joe Biden continue. We have to uproot systemic racism, because you're speaking their language. The people that believe in the police brutality myth, as pushed by the Democrats and Black Lives Matter, they want to hear the word systemic racism. And when you say that word, you get their vote. In a presidential campaign ad last fall, Kamala Harris asserted, "Why in this nation do Black Americans wake up knowing that they could lose their life in the course of just living their life?" In the aftermath of Ahmaud Arbery's tragic killing early in 2020, NBA superstar LeBron James tweeted, "We're literally hunted every day, every time we step foot outside of the comforts of our home." Yeah, your home is a lot more comforting than mine, LeBron, as far as aesthetics. But my mind is at peace because I'm not living in some paranoia fear of police. And I don't even think he is. He's just running with the narrative because that is the social currency that is awarded for people who believe this crap. Perhaps the most stunning example of this race-driven moral panic is when more than 1,300 public health officials signed a letter last year in support of a nationwide BLM protest claiming white supremacy is a lethal public health issue that predates and contributes to COVID-19. Despite advocating for draconian lockdown measures, public health experts stated, "We do not condemn these gatherings as risky for COVID-19 transmission. We support them as vital to the national public health." Okay. Oh, my lordy lord. The continued blurring of political activism and objective reporting has real consequences. Media outlets, politicians, cultural icons, and other voices must take a hard look in the mirror over how they frame and react to an issue as fraught as police brutality. Like LeBron James then tweeting, "You're next," to the hero cop that killed Ma'Khia Bryant while saving the life of another person. Otherwise, this cycle will inevitably repeat itself several times over, which it is and currently is. The next time a cop kills an unarmed Black person, no matter the circumstances, it will be sensationalized to fit broad narratives of systemic racism. The insidious systemic racism, the conspiracy known as systemic racism, further misleading the public and fueling radical activists to naive politicians to take measures that only harm Black lives, like defunding the police. Guys, as you guys see, these people that push this crap, these people, let me remind you of the face, the one and only Michelle Obama. The people that push this crap are liars, and they are propagandists trying to spin a story to maintain their power. Michelle Obama hasn't been oppressed in America virtually her whole adult life. All right. She is a woman who is immensely privileged, filthy rich. She can make any moves she wants. So for her to sit there and talk about racism, I don't want to hear it. You're balling, you're prospering, your life's great. Shut up, because you are blessed, but you want to continue to run with this systemic racism conspiracy theory narrative. I'm gonna leave that right there, guys. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you join the journey to 5,000 subs. Like, comment, share, subscribe. You guys could support me on my PayPal and also Cash App. Links are gonna be in the description below. Thank you guys for all the support. As always, I'll see you good people on the next one. God bless. Peace.